Hi everybody, welcome to Mud Clay Studio Curbside Kit series. This is our Christmas tree curb kit. Look how cute that is. What you're gonna need for today is the template that came inside your kit, the plastic fork, the plastic knife. There was a jar or a small plastic container of wet clay, what we call slip. If you have a brush at home, a scissor, and either a rolling pin or a wine bottle or a soda bottle, anything to roll your clay out flat. The first thing you want to do before we even get started is to cut your template pieces out. Once you've cut your template pieces out, you're going to want to roll your clay and maybe let it sit for about an hour. Once you get that going, we'll be back. All right, guys, so the first thing we want to do is trace our template pieces. Now, we don't want to take our piece and just cut it out in the middle. Slabs are a lot of work, as you may have noticed. So we want to conserve the amount of space that we have. So try and fit it together like a jigsaw puzzle so that we can utilize this for another part of the project. You can go ahead and you can cut out your pieces using the knife that we gave you. If you want to use a sharper knife that you may have in your kitchen, clay does wash out or wash off of anything that you may be using. We're just trying to give you as much as we can to make it easier for you, but you probably have slightly better tools at home. This is the pandemic toolkit. Okay, so I'm going to cut off all of these parts, and you may notice what you think each of these pieces are. We're going to have our top, our middle, and our bottom. If you want to go ahead and make your tree a little larger, you can make your template pieces a little bigger by just following the same pattern, just maybe extending them out a little bit more. Okay, so once we have our pieces, you could save your template pieces for later in case you want to do it out of Play-Doh, or we want to cut this. We're going to save this piece and we want to put it to the side. Okay. I'm going to save this clay as well. So the first thing we want to work on is the top. What we want to do is we want to squish the opening of it, the sort of the Pac-Man mouth of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take either our fork to make score marks on one side and score marks on the other, or we can use our knife, plastic knife. Either way, we want to sort of make these scratch marks. And then we want to use our slip as glue. And we're going to want to sort of squish that together. Now, trees are organic, right? So they don't have to be perfect. We're not looking to make a Lego tree here. We're just sort of making something you might find in nature, something individual to you. Just gonna go ahead and seal that up. And I'm gonna move that to the side. Now we're gonna go to our second part. We're gonna do the same thing. We just wanna squish those ends. The reason why we're squishing those ends is when we stack them together, we don't want it to be doubly thick in that area. So by thinning it out, when we put them on top of each other, it won't be too thick. We're gonna go ahead and score and slip those and squish those together. If your clay starts to crack, it's okay, because we're going to texture this up later on. So now we've got our middle part. And now you want to go ahead and do the same thing with our larger part. Squish those ends. If I'm going too fast, because I've been doing this for 20-something years, you can go ahead and stop the video and take your time. little cracking over here. One of the mistakes that people make is they'll try and use the slip to smooth out the cracks. I actually don't want to do that. You just want to smooth them out with a dry finger. All right, so now I've got my 3 parts of my tree, and it's ready for us to put it together. All right, guys, now it's time to assemble our pieces of our tree. So we want to start with the bottom piece because we want to be able to apply pressure to the top. And we want to score all around the top of the tree. Now this is going to be hidden, so it doesn't have to be super neat. And then we want to score inside the middle part of our tree. We want to apply some slip to the inside where we put those score marks. It's going to be a little hard to line them up and know exactly where it's meeting, so it's okay to be a little over generous with the slipping and the scoring. Score it all the way around. Now we want to gently apply some pressure, sort of twist it. That'll sort of lock it in. Next, we want to apply our top piece. Now, a little bit of an option. If you want your tree to be a little taller, you can take some of your extra clay and make sort of a thick coil. Coils are long snakes of clay like this. And we can make this even a little taller, sort of like that hidden extra piece in your Lego set. And you can go ahead and do something like that. That gives your pieces a little bit of height. It makes it a little taller. Okay, so now we have our Christmas tree. And now we want to decide, we want to smooth out these edges. Maybe we want to sort of make them look like a pie crust, sort of pinch it and make it a little uneven. Give it a little character. This is when your tree becomes uniquely your tree. Maybe we want to squeeze it a little. Maybe this side too, we want to give it a little bit of character here by just pushing your hands, playing around with it. If it cracks, it's not a big deal, right? Christmas trees, we've all seen the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center these days. Didn't look so good. Okay. So now, do what you want with this. Let's say you want to cut a star out of the top, or maybe you want to put little ornaments on it. The main process of putting ornaments or putting anything on your tree is to always remember to score and slip. So with your knife or with your fork, you want to make sure you really score that up, add some slip, and the best way to do this is really just kind of twist it on like that. So I'm going to go ahead and decorate my Christmas tree a little bit further, and you can too, and I'll be right back to show you guys how to put the base on. Okay guys, so here's my tree. I went with kind of something simple. The reason why is because I want to put some texture in my tree. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my pen. I'm just going to give it some lines like that. Sort of give it a little bit of a realistic feel. Now you don't have to do this, and I will warn you that your tree will not be very smooth to touch if you do this, but gives a little bit of a real feel to it. You don't have to do it all over. Maybe it just looks like in some spots it's got a little bit more texture than others. Okay, and you can go ahead and continue that part. Now what we're gonna do next is give this guy a little bit of height. So we're gonna take some of our leftover slab and we're gonna cut a trunk out of it. How high you make that trunk for the tree is really up to you. Make it though taller than you want it because it's gonna have to fit inside here. And if it fits inside, you're gonna lose about a half an inch. Maybe that's a little too tall. And then once you get the tree width, the trunk width, as wide as you want it, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna score the ends. And go ahead. Now, a bit of a suggestion. If you have the time, you may wanna let both of these pieces sit for a bit before you attach it. If your trunk is too soft, it may squish a little bit more than you want it. At this point, I want to pull this out a little bit because I need it to be a little wider on the bottom so that the tree doesn't fall down. So I don't mind that it squishes, and maybe you want that sort of organic, creepy Harry Potter look to your tree. So once you let it sit a little bit, where you know that you do not attach, if you attach it, it won't fall all the way down, you're going to go ahead and score the top of your tree trunk. Go ahead and score the whole inside of your tree. If you do that, you're bound to get it to match up the score marks to some part of it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna twist that guy in there. Start to smooth out the inside a little bit, just sort of squish it in there. Make it so it's really sticking. You can then go back and you can give the tree trunk a little bit of texture with your pen, right? Because trees, you've got your smooth birch trees or the trees where the bark is kind of peeling off. You can make it into whatever you want. Maybe you want to add an owl to here, or a dove or an angel up on top. Whatever you want to do to give your tree a little bit more of a character and individual look to it. Okay, so there we go. Let's think about what I want to put up on the top here. I have a bit of a struggle making stars. So if you have a star cookie cutter or something that you'd like to put up there, you can go ahead and do that. I'm gonna opt for a little bit of a snowflake sort of look here. Again, I've never been very good at making cutting stars out. Since you probably don't have a star cookie cutter at home, I'll give you sort of a little bit of an easier way. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking some coils and I'm just sort of squishing them together. I am not going to leave it this big though, because pieces like this tend to break off very easily in the transport. So remember, with your curbside kit, you're going to be able to choose one color. Use my scissor to cut this down a little. One color for your whole tree, or if you would like to return to hand paint it yourself for an additional $15, you could just mark that off on your glaze sheet that came with your kit. Now, if you notice what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this to the front, not the top. I guarantee if you put it to the top, when you transport it here, it's going to break. So my pro tip is put it on the front of your tree. There you go. Okay, there we have it. So in your curbside kit, you should have gotten a sheet. You're gonna write your name on that sheet along with your name on the bottom of your tree. My suggestion is to use a pen, write your name on the flattest side that you can. Please make it really clear. We'd love to be able to get this back to you. And the only way is if it's clearly written on the bottom and then it matches up with your sheet. You're then gonna let your tree sit for a couple of hours just so it gets to leather hard. And then take that plastic that came with the kit and wrap it up real good. Both of our studios have a box in the front. You can just drop it off whenever you want. And then we will return it to you, or it'll be ready for pickup in 3 weeks. There you have it. Everything does shrink, so this tree will shrink to this size. So don't be disappointed when it comes back and it's a little tinier. It'll fit perfectly on your tree, underneath your tree, or on your fireplace. And that's it. I hope you guys had a great time. Have a great holiday season. Bye from everyone here at Mud.